Good morning. I am higher vibrations and so are you. And holy cannoli and a bucket of snakes. Guys, there's so much energy happening right now. We have been having some hectic KP readings up and down. Last I looked a few moments ago, we were almost at a 5 in the KP index. That's not even what we're expecting. We're expecting to have even more coming in. There's a lot that's kind of squishing together and all that left, of course, on the 5-5 portal. So we're expecting within the next, however soon, to be getting a much higher stream of energy coming in. And so if this affects you like many of us in this ascension and symptom increase kind of experience, know that this is temporary and that we're all feeling it. You're okay. And that you're not alone. And won't join on Sunday, or if are in the Southern Hemisphere, happy Mother's Day early. And having said all of that, I just wanted to get all that out of the way. Welcome everybody for joining. And I want to welcome my lovely guest, Varleigh. She also goes by Lavender Sky Panther. Lavender Sky Panther is, she has a really awesome YouTube where she watches the skies and deciphers the code, teaches us about crystals. She's been on this journey for quite some time, and it's always fun to connect with her because she has such a wealth of knowledge to share. So I just want to say welcome, and how are you today, Varleigh?
Thank you, and likewise on that wealth of information. And for everybody here too in the chat, we do feel the energies and feel certain things coming through. And whenever you write something, it's always the way with, I'm going to probably say Mela. I know it's Mila. And you say Varleigh and some say Varleigh. I don't care. But yeah, when people write stuff, it's so funny. You have the uncanny way of like, whoever writes in and you're timing to pick it up and put it on the screen, it always synchronizes beautifully whatever's, being talked about.
Yeah.
But I'm okay today. If you asked me yesterday, I would have had to cancel if you were going to have me on yesterday, because something energy-wise, massive, at least for me, started at 1 p.m. Eastern. And I know time is relative and time is slipping and time is wishy-washy. Obviously, wherever we are in the world connecting together right now, it might be Friday, Saturday, whatever, but we're in real time now all together. Like telepathy even has no time, right? Just crosses all time. There's no zones. So we're all together in the here and now. But by the clock, if we're doing reference comparisons, 1 o'clock yesterday, oh my gosh, I felt it coming. My head, it was like massive headache. And I don't get them often. I've had that pretty regulated. But man, that started kicking in. And I'm like, oh no, the body's just going to start purging, detoxing. And of course, at the same time, it was like a many dark nights of the soul. And I'm like, come on, I've been on this path way too long for this crap to keep coming up. But guess what? Yes, it does. Right. Many moments of it. And I wanted to bring that up because it's, I think it came up on purpose yesterday, knowing that we were going to talk today. Because if you don't mind, Mela, I'll just touch on something that's hitting me about that and how maybe to cope with that. I mean, we all talk about, and you're great at that, talking about bringing the earth in if you're in a winter climate and earthing and getting the ions, changing up and walking on the earth and stuff. But I wanted to bring up something that had to get me through it yesterday, because I did that and it still wasn't working. And I'm like, just having like this almost mini meltdown, and the thoughts are coming in negative. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. But they're coming in anyway. And I went through the list of, okay, is this mine, or is this the collective, or is this something else? And the clarity wasn't coming in. So this is going to be kind of like an SOS, throw out the lifesaver if somebody really needs help in these moments. And this is hitting you maybe for the first time. And listen, this was not my first rodeo and it still hit me. And I was going, help God, help guardian angelics, help galactics, help like everybody on my team. Help me now. Come on, assist here now. Like, right. Come on.
Where are you at, buddy?
And like flicker a light. Like, I need you here right now doing something, heal the body, come in now, help me regulate the head. But that didn't happen. What did happen is that I reached over instinctively to my nightstand. And this is going to be a little word to the wise. Maybe some of you do it already. Have little things on your nightstand that are of the elementals. I'm going to jump around a bit, but in the background, this is like a cloth set, so I don't go ghosting like in and out on you like like I did on one of your shows with the green screen. So this is I'm in the Green Tavern Inn, by the way, in the Lord of the Rings. But anyway, this on my bed, this is a 6-foot staff, okay, made of walnut. You can find any wood in the world that you want. Unfortunately, I don't live like right next to a forest or have nice, neat, staff size twigs and limbs on the trees. So I did order this from Indiana years ago because this guy, I liked the way he was doing things, and he had different types of wood available. So look up what kind of wood resonates with you. For whatever reason, I was feeling black walnut or walnut. That's what I got. Some people got termites in your area. Go for cedar if that clicks with you, so you don't have any problems there. But anyway, my point is, have this by your bed and a few other things. So I keep this between my nightstand and me. So the first thing that started happening is these energies are coming in strong. I asked my team above, hey, can you dissipate a bit, bring it down a notch because the energy is too strong. I hope you're still there, Mila.
I am. I'm just giving you the screen.
Oh, thanks. Okay. So the first thing instinctively I did when I did that all like, hey, team, help me, but nothing was really happening. I instinctively grabbed for the stick because what this does is you can be laying in bed. It's right next to you. You hold on to it. And it doesn't matter that it's not connected to a living tree. There's still life in here. You feel the force, spirit, organic life force within this, staff. And what I do is I have a telepathic conversation with the two. I'm like, hey, do you mind? Can I transfer some of these energies to you, please? I need to just offload some of this energy. This is, again, while you're in your room, in your bed. So I have it, hitting the floor. I hold on to it. And I'm like, imagining all of the excess pressure, like in the head, if it's hitting you strong in the crown chakra, like you're getting a big headache, imagine that pain literally moving through your body and transferring to like this staff. And it doesn't have to be 6 feet. It can be 5 feet or shoulder height or whatever you want. So that's the first thing. Okay. And then at one point I even took it off the floor and had it like in me in the bed, like holding on, like kindly take the energies. And it really works. Then the next thing, that wasn't quite enough though. The energies were still coming through and I wasn't feeling that great. So I'm like, okay, instinctively I reached over for some rocks. Now these I picked up on a travel that I did to a very special place. And these were just rocks along a former riverbed. These happen to come from, what was I going to say? These happen to come from New Zealand, okay? When they're wet, they look different. So this has yellow. It looks very yellow when it's wet. This looks very green, right? And then there's another one that I thought was a New Zealand rock because I would just grab blind. But this was just also a piece of hierosol that I have from here. I think it's from Madagascar. But anyway, they're all very different shapes. And I'm in the dark grabbing these things, right? But instinctually, this is the shape that wanted to go right here. Okay, I'm lying down. And remember, my head is going all over the place. And it's almost like an anchor. It's like we're grounding you down, right? And then these two wanted to go about here on the chest. So in a way, it was forming a nice 3, 1, 2, 3, whatever geometry that was doing. But what it did was say, okay, we know you are walking between two worlds with this journey of ascension. Most of us, when we wake up, we're like, where are we? Are we on Earth? Are we up there? Right? But sometimes, yes, we need to kind of be grounded down a little bit. So this is the first time I've done this. This is the first time I have crystals around me a lot. But this is the first time where I did my very fast kind of like ER situation, crystal healing, put them down. But just after saying, guys up there, my team, I don't know my specific spirit guide name. I know what they kind of look like, how they feel. And I noticed for me, it's just kind of a cloud of a collective of helpers up there, all kind of mixed in like a beautiful glowing cloud. But it's just kind of like, hey guys, come on. But that was the instruction. So what I want to say is it hit me strong before coming on here is the whole notion of elementals. So whether wood feels good to you or, the crystals. And again, you don't have to go to a store or anywhere to purchase these if you don't want. It's great to go to crystal shows. You find some really cool ones like this beautiful Celestine and, really things you might never see. Yeah, it's really gorgeous. I'll hold it more later. But even I'm just talking off the street. You find a little pebble special to you, bring it in, put it by your bedside because you never know, you might need it. And depending on which elementals you resonate with, if you're an earthy person, you got your crystals, your staff. Maybe you're a water person, have some water, maybe even just holding a vessel of water would have done it for you if you resonate more with water. I don't, but some people might. Fire, you don't necessarily want a candle by your bedside just for safety, because that's happened in my past where I fell asleep and a candle went all the way down to nothing. magical. I was saved by angelic realms because there wasn't even ash in there. I would have been dead. So I don't recommend that. But if you resonate with fire, maybe find a fiery stone, or even like, lava, black lava, just connecting you with fire. Right? Anyway, I said more than enough. That's
Thank you
it.
for sharing.
But it helped. All of it helped get me out of that. Oh, we're on the roller coaster. It was like literally like, let me hold on to this stick for the ride of my life. And then we got through it.
I'll often do the same with stones. I'll keep stones. In particular, I have like, I don't have it with me. It's over in my room, but it's this is organite, and I have a flat version. It's just like a puck, a big puck, and I keep it near my bed. It's actually called a sleeping pod, is how it was marketed back when I got it. Anyway, that I'll usually put that right on my breastplate, like right just below my clavicle, and just let that move through. There's also a question, by the way. Amanda says, I have a bamboo stick by my bed because I liked it. Does that work? I would say it would, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the bamboo has a lot of the elements. It's very earthy, but because it's hollow, you've got air. It sucks up water like a straw. So you've got the water. It's actually very beautiful. And it really is just what feels good to you. That's your friend. That's going to work. Definitely. And if you go like telepathy with talking with trees, you can even do that. Again, it doesn't have to be connected to the earth or the living source of it all. It can be detached like this, but it's still very much a sentient being in there, at least I feel. And I even communicate telepathically and said, hey, do you have a name? Because, of course, I have to think about that with Lord of the Rings, and all these staves and swords have names, right? Legendary names. Right. And so I asked mine, and I got the joke because it's walnut, but it said its name is oak. And I'm like, okay.
That's hilarious. That's funny. And you'll find that when we talk to the trees and stuff, that they have a much different voice than what we expect. So we have to listen a little closer. It's more of a wispy sound, I find, and windful and soft. It's beautiful and gentle. Even if the tree is vast and mighty in its stance, it has this gentle voice, almost like you would think of a spring breeze, kind of similar to energy to that. So for those who are joining you for the first time, Varlay, maybe we should do some type of introduction and give them a little bit of a background about you, and like, if that's all right with you. Are you okay if I ask a series of questions?
Whatever you like.
All right, thank you. So when I know that I actually don't like this question, but it is a question that's because it has different layers. It's not like a yes, no kind of answer. However, because we tend to have many phases of awakening. And so having said that, people often like to ask, when was your awakening? Like, do you remember when you really started to understand, even if it was like a vague recollection or vague understanding that later on became something deeper?
Yeah, what I will do is I'll give like a very lighter overview of it. And we did talk about it. Believe it or not, I was on your show for the very first time almost a year ago in June. And in that one, we covered the details of it. But I'll just give now like a little overview. So in 2007, I was in the height of stress of my life and the corporate world, and things were just, getting to be a bit much. And also, I think intuitively I was sensing I'm not here, supposed to be here, like in that role, in that place. Like the phrase that kept coming is, I'm not doing what I'm meant to do. Like I'm not doing what I came here to do in this corporate setting. And so some weird way I got like a pneumonia type thing, but I had gone the week prior to check it out. And they said, no, you're clear. We'd be surprised if it's pneumonia, right? When they checked it out, right? And then something instinctively went, oh, crap. I know I'm going to get it somehow, even though I didn't believe in getting sick or whatever. It was just something about what he said was kind of like not a premonition, but like a prophecy, like something's going to happen. Not that I believed him, but just some sinking feeling was just like, okay, something's going to change and it was going to come through this. Long story short, it turned out not to be pneumonia, but it was something where they said, we'll be surprised if you wake up in the morning. They told me this. And I had a 2-year-old at home and I'm like, what? Because I had been in the hospital for 6 days. It had pneumonia like present things. They were had me on the heaviest medications they knew to throw at me. And then they're like, we can't do anything more. And I'm like, what? Right. Anyway, I had a miracle healing that night. I just said, hey, God, my vote is to stay. Do what you will, obviously, but my vote's to stay. The very next morning, here they told me they'd be surprised if I wake up. I'm like, I woke up. Is the short version. The long version's back on that show in June last year. So anyway, I woke up, not only woke up, but both lungs were completely clear and they were completely full. And everybody stood there like eyes like saucers, jaw to the floor. How is that possible? And they even asked me, and I just kind of smiled because I'm like, I know the power. We've got help, unseen help, right? And so that was 2007. I say that first, but that wasn't enough to truly wake me up. That was just like, oh, I guess I've been working too hard, and whatever. This was a forced rest. Little did I know that, no, this is a precursor. Something's really going to radically change in your life. So we skip ahead to 2010. So somehow I managed to make it through I really feel I'm not supposed to be doing this, but somehow I got through another 3 years. And that's when I had the really big, great awakening, I call it, moment, because life as I knew it completely went away. So the job, the home, the marriage, like all the, what you build up as little cornerstones, completely gone. And then that's when it brings you literally to your knees. Like I was literally on the floor crying. Then all of a sudden you don't know what you're in. You're starting to see deeper because this is the time you were meant to. You're meant to wake up and understand that you were living, I don't want to say a fake life or half life, because it really was a life. It was a story. But then you wake up to going, well, wait, that's not the real story. Yeah. That's like maybe like the cartoon before the big feature. And now we're going into the big feature movie. And so you didn't know it was fake, but now you have that moment and now, oh yes, you sure as heck know. Now people in the outside world might call it like a breakdown or a mini breakdown or whatever. And yeah, you are breaking down all of what you knew. And you are breaking open to start to see deeper and to understand, yes, there are things like ghosts. There are elementals. There are other things happening. There's things up in the sky. You start to see differently. You see new. And it may be all at once or it may be incremental. I know a lot of people, this did not happen to me, but I know a lot of people in that moment, that's when you start clearly speaking with galactic beings. Or, oh, there you are. Like they've been there all the time, but you start to see that, right? For me, that didn't kick in, but for me, other things kicked in some of my lowest points where I'm like, oh my God, this very negative realm, that's real. Because there was something in my room breathing and like snorting like some kind of evil, my imagery was like a warthog or something, because I was really, really low. And I'm like, God, come now, God, come now. And then poof, it disappeared. But then you start to realize what these things are real, and this is no medication, no, alcohol. I don't do it all my life. This is just hitting your low. Mm-hmm. And then you start to open up to these other 4D astral worlds or other things. And then, of course, as you go along your awakening, then these things are just like normal. Or if you hear a bang in the house and you're the only one and there was nothing else causing it, there's some kind of spirit around there. And these things are very real and very true. And then the more you accept that and embrace it, the more you talk to others who then kind of admit, oh yeah, I saw an orb float through my house and I felt like something over here. I smelled cigarettes and no one smokes in the house, or, and then you understand that people are waking up and getting in touch with something deeper. Yeah. And so anyway, that was 2010 for me. And then since 2010, I've just been on that ride. Still awesome. Just, it's all leaps of faith. When those kind of moments first happen, I knew instinctively, and nothing against anybody if you do this practice, just for me personally. And when you hit the Great Awakening, there's value in what I'm going to say, but just not in this one moment as you're cracking open. I knew traditional psychology isn't going to work to go to somebody for help in those moments. So right away, it became very clear to go to spiritual guides. And, people like what you do so expertly, beautifully, Mila, and connecting and whatever. That's who I just instinctively started going to. And then you start discovering all kinds of other things through their knowledge and wisdoms. And they were the ones, the real, my rock, my staff to get through everything for these 15 years. So you start to resonate with certain people who are certain guides. They're there for a certain part of your journey. And then you realize you naturally completed your work together as master and student and vice versa.
Mhm.
And then you go gradually onto another one, and then you may go back to another one if you're meant to be in each other's circles. It's a really beautiful unfoldment and process. So for anybody out there, Mila happens to be mine right now because we're in sync, in that, vibration and in this cycle where, my goodness, I've said it before, things that have come through our sessions, invaluable to me. You can't put a price on it. So again, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
but that's such a beautiful part of the journey. I even used to took verbatim notes every spiritual guide I went to, and I'm talking earthly ones, people you go to for help, and they either read cards or they can read anything. I had one person read shells. I had one guy put smoke marks on plates, and I mean, he was incredible. He remote viewed and was like in my bedroom telling me stuff on my nightstand that nobody knew was there. And I'm like, okay, you don't need to convince me, buddy. Connecting. But, pretty wild stuff. But it becomes a journey. So I was actually writing down the sessions, and it became like that itself was like a journaling or therapy for me. And it was encouragement, because on this journey, you need encouragement. You need people to say, hey, you're not flipping out. You're actually flipping in, and the rest is going to start to flip,
Ooh,
right?
I like
Like we're doing now. And I saw Yolanda Marie just posted something the other day that said, sometimes when you're not crazy, you're just first or early, like to see it.
mm,
God, it's so
right.
true. Like this knowledge from this guy from 10 years ago, one of my first spiritual guides, he's telling me all kinds of things. Like, there's inner earth, and there's beings inside of there's spaceships that come out of the water. And he's telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I know he's not crazy. Somehow I know this makes sense, but it's a little too soon.
Yeah.
Little did I know now I would get activated as a part of my journey now, my Great Awakening. 2018 was another pivotal year where I was told to start to look up.
Yeah.
And that's where suddenly I was gifted or activated sight to see deeper, where I can just look up in the sky and go, okay, yeah, there's a cloak and craft right there. Yeah, there's one over there. But when you think about it, the timing is perfect, because if I started seeing them too early, Mila, I wouldn't have had the camera technology to help me do the, up and lowering of the filters. Just for anyone who doesn't know, if you go to my channel, I'll take an original photo of the sky and show you, okay, that's what we see. And then very simply, very quickly, anyone can do this, even on your own phone. You take your photo, and with the editing tools, there's only 3 things you got to do. Play around with upping and lowering the brightness, the color saturation, and the contrast. That's it. And then when you do that, you start to see things pop out. So the camera is seeing deeper. It had to match for me to see deeper at the same time. Otherwise, what would happen? I'd say, yeah, look, it's there. And they'd be like, nice, Varley. But now I have the camera to prove it. The camera can see deeper with the range, that it sees. So it actually is kind of perfect, right? So anyway, I was called to start documenting that. So that's all on my channel. I also document nature things, and then any spiritual messages that want to come through. But hopefully that answered the question enough.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you. And just to add to that, the first time I started to do the camera stuff regarding the sky, I was doing it at night, and people don't often know that they can do that in the blackness of the night. If you can't see it on your phone camera, that's what I use. I use a phone camera or digital camera. If you can't see it on the screen, doesn't mean it won't be recorded onto the photograph, and then messing with it, just enough so you can bring out the contrast and what's behind. There's some really interesting things to be seen. It's worth it. It's fun, and it's reassuring to a lot of people. But like you said, early on in the awakening, sometimes I find myself in that position too, where people ask me some questions in our sessions, and then I'll answer. And not always is it me answering. Sometimes it's channeled information. Often it is. But the thing is that oftentimes I won't even realize it until I look at their eyes and like, oh, wait, they're like, what? That's a lot. That's a lot of what? Yeah, there are. There's the aviaries, and then there's the what people call the aquarium, what they were referred to as the aquarium. These are the differences and the that's the as above, so below in a different respect regarding these other vessels and beings that kind of populate these areas. And typically they've actually been at contrast with one another. They don't agree always, the aviary and the aquarium people. It's just interesting. Anyway, Well, it's really fascinating because you mentioned the three of like some of the main dates that you hear: 2007, 2010, to that 2018. I may have referred back to said this back when you were talking about this in June. I don't remember. I think you said it was June. What year? Whatever, the December something. I don't know. Anyway, but it's really fascinating because when you said 2010, I was like, oh, hey, there's another one. And then it turns out I just recently discovered, because there's a lot of legal stuff going on regarding a variety of things to do with the medical system. I'll just briefly touch it as that. And they brought up some documents that showed a project, a program that they started in 2011 that was designed to push even harder all vaccinations and all kinds of stuff about this, leading up to what ended up occurring. And so it was all like this premeditated thing. But the point here is when I heard the 2011, I remember thinking, oh yeah, because 2010 was a big awakening year. There was a lot of people.
I want to put the lid on that.
Yeah.
Well, right. And the thing that I talked about that almost took me out in 2007, I wasn't going to mention it. I think I mentioned it on the other show. That was the precursor to what was bioweapon now. And that's why in the last 5 years. So that's why when it came about, I'm like, I know it. That's what I had. And it was a testing ground. I got hit with the testing ground. So that was 2007. So it was coming out even before. They tested on the population even back then.
Yeah.
And so just so you know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And even in 2005, with my own child, what did we do? We didn't know better. We just did what everyone did. You take your person in to get all the things of the vaccines. As soon as this one event happened, I said, never again. There will be not one more, because the nurse, this is again, I didn't know any better. The child was under 5, brings out this vial. Now keep in mind, this is 2005. Okay. And on it has the skull and crossbones. And I'm like, I said, excuse me, wait, you're planning on putting that in my child? And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, well, there's a skull and crossbones on there. That means poison. That means toxic. That means danger. Why? Why is it there? Why are you putting it in my child? She goes, oh, let me go get the doctor. So this was a doctor that was recommended, and again, blind, idiot, naive. I didn't know what was going on, unawakened. Doctor comes, gives some explanation. Wasn't really all that, ironclad. But again, we're kind of snowed with this. It's just what you do. You just bring your kid in, programming, right? So I guess the answer was, a little shaky, but enough that I let them do it. And as soon as we walked out, I was crying. I'm like, why? Why did I let them do that? This was in 2005. I felt so horrible. And I'm like, I can't believe it. That was like a mini awakening, before my bigger awakening. And I'm like, never again, though, because I saw it. Yeah. I'm like, but I know that was a message to make sure I didn't do anything now, Right. But wow, the programming, that word, television programming, we didn't realize like how literal it is. Like we talk about, you can program crystals, they can hold memory, they can hold healing, it can be done for good. But when we know that in between the little flicker rates of these like new LED bulbs, which drive me nuts, I want the incandescent back. I'll put that choice away. That don't even get me started. I'm going to blow a gasket. Really ticked off that we can't choose to have our incandescents. They still have halogens that you can maybe get your hands on that are better. But these LEDs, they interfere with our biofield. I mean, they mess up my vision. I notice I feel like out of sorts. I'm in a house that I'm just renting, but they've got it everywhere. I keep all the lights off and I have like natural daylight or my own little lights where I have some light.
You only can get the LED kind?
Well, at least where I'm at, in all the big box, supermarkets, this all happened during the scamdemic. They started doing it off the shelves where you couldn't get incandescents anymore. So all the big stores, all of the big like building construction stores, you can't get incandescents. It's only LEDs. So I'm in a bigger city. I don't know.
From Walmart the other day.
Well, here, any of the big.
You're Florida, right?
I'm in a big city. So yeah, I'm in Miami. So in the big cities, at least, no, you can't get it. Wow. And I don't know about other, bigger cities, but mine, that hit me hard because light is so important to
Yeah,
me.
that would really bother me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that
I did
happened.
find it to be, I had to search for a minute to get what I was looking for a while back, but I just assumed that they were out at certain stores. But yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
by design. And I can tell you that because I used to work in a design and construction industry. And back 15 years ago, the electrical engineers were saying, "Hey, we've got to design the building all for LED." And I'm like, "Heck no, I'm not supporting that. And tell me what's going on." And they said, "Oh, well, all the training they're doing is saying do LED. Oh, it's efficient. They're going to give you all of these, things to make it seem attractive." So no, this is by design. This is by agenda, because
interesting.
that light interferes with our biofield, and especially if we are, I don't like the word sensitives. We're in tune. It messes with your natural abilities to see and connect and whatever. At
Oh
least for
yeah,
me.
speaking of, sorry.
Yep, I'm done.
Speaking of, this is a jump over here real quick kind of topic. Is just validating something you said earlier. You had said it was at 1 p.m. Eastern time that
Yeah.
happened yesterday, and a lot of people so that would have been between noon and like 11 and noon my time is when I was getting a lot of messages from people that
Ooh.
were all saying. And so this was the hour before and right on the hour of what you had described. So it's a different time zone, but the same moment. And when you said sensitive is what made me think of it is the individuals that had contacted me during that time, and they were feeling disrupted. There was issues going on, energy, they could tell the energy spike was happening. These are individuals that I kind of use or notice what they're saying, because I like to use the information that they bring for me due to the fact that they're extra sensitive. They're more aware of energy as it flows than others might be. And
They're
it,
like spiritual seismographs.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it can really knock some people on their butt
Yeah.
if they've, like the example you mentioned, falling or becoming physically or health wise out of alignment for a moment is 234. This usually will happen to try to like help us to reset and get back into our equilibrium again, and these resettings will occur, especially if we're too in, like you had talked about, being very invested in back in 2007 in the employment world that you were in, and I had a very similar story to yours. I'm just saying that because it's really useful to have a story like yours be told, because I feel like it's super common. The ones that get the most airtime are the ones that are like profound, over, like near death experience led to
Oh, yeah.
knowing everything about the universe, and then coming back and telling everybody how to live and all that kind of stuff. And that's really fascinating too. However, more people awaken in this way. It's a gradual process that happens over time. There are layers that unlayer, and you become more and more aware of the world that you actually are not in, and it's just useful to kind of keep that in mind, because there's so many people who try to compare, and I really it would be so great if no one did that, but we do that naturally, and we also find benefit in hearing other people's stories, because then we can get validation too. We can also say, oh cool, someone else had the same kind of awakening or experience. That's called an awakening. What next? And we all have different phases of rabbit holes. We jump down these rabbit holes of knowledge and information, and we realize most of the time after a while that all of the stuff that's come through for us throughout our whole life has been culminating to that now moment that you're in. Like the example you made about the injection with your baby. This actually, Kim Duffy actually said now the doctors don't even bring the vials in the room, just the needles with the toxin ready to go. Like for you to see that, and then to have that affect you in a lasting way, to assist you and to assist your child, is huge. And I know exactly what it's like. My daughter's never been vaccinated, and boy oh boy have I gotten browbeat and even like the kind of gaslighting that the nurses and doctors do, I remember thinking that, like, questioning myself, being like, am I trying to kill her? Because that's what they're trying to make you feel like.
Yeah, they're inverting. And they vilified in my generation. I mean, we're close. I'm like big sister, but in Earth years, right?
Yeah.
Just going through it a little bit more ahead as a parent. That's the only reason why I'm saying it. There's no above and below. You know, we know that we're here, but just time wise on the earthly timeline, coming through it first. Oh yeah, the mothers in my vintage seasons age and a little bit older, younger. Oh, vilified, crucified if you didn't shoot up your kid. Now, I ended up meeting one woman after, funnily enough, right, how timing works along our path and our journey. My first red flag alarm bells was seeing the skull and crossbones on the vial. But then later came into somebody said, oh, you should speak, to me. This woman called and she wanted to do a talent show benefit and with kids. And I'm like, sure. I had gifts in the, 3D world that I could easily help. And I felt I should do it pro bono and help. Little did I know, after talking with her further, what were the proceeds for? Kids with autism. And she was saying, yes, my kids were fine. We did this, the injections. Then the kid had autism, hands down. Now, she was ridiculed, all this stuff. But we went in full and had this beautiful, benefit, thing go on. And I was all in because, I had seen the skull and crossbones. I'm like, I know you're telling the truth. But again, this is like one of those CIA or those kinds of programs that are totally designed to make the person look like they look crazy if they've seen a UFO or Bigfoot. Oh, yeah, the moms are all crazy. No, it's not the injections. These are safe for your kids. Meanwhile, you be that mother going home or taking your child out and they're having explosive episodes. They're tapping their head because it's just so hot because they've got the metals in there. And you go home and you look at that and say, yeah, that had nothing to do with the injections. Right. So sorry, I'm here to champion all the mothers who've been grossly, disgustingly ridiculed. When if you're a parent, you know your child. It doesn't have to be a mother. You know your child. You know every nuance of your child, and you know the precise moment where something ain't right. Right. And similar thing with SIDS, and I'll wrap it up here. I don't want to go too medical, but sudden infant death syndrome. Hello, talk injections, okay, but we're brainwashed again. Back to the program to think, okay, I guess something just does happen. Now we know, but at least now we know. And we can send out extra love and blessings. And for anyone who's done it, this is definitely no shame, no guilt. We just do, like I say, we're doing the best we can here on this planet with what we've got to work with and at our level of understanding or understanding or connectedness or waking up. So there's no harm, no foul. What is done, there's something in it. It couldn't happen if it weren't supposed to go down that way. I believe in that too. Believe you can't physically speak anything if it's not supposed to come out of your mouth. And if it does and it's jarring or triggering, well, hey, God just used you to jar or trigger that person. That's all. Don't take it personally, right?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. You get some really good points. I'm glad that we're talking about this because there are a lot of people who don't know which way is correct, whether they can trust themselves. And I've also had a lot of late night panicked calls of mothers who just decided to give their child. I remember one example was it was the chickenpox vaccine. Okay, but just this whole thing about the mumps and measles have been made to be some awful. It used to be like chickenpox was for our generation. It wasn't that anything at all. And everybody became so afraid of it. Anyway, this one in particular got a chickenpox vaccination. And within 24 hours, he went from speaking and reading and writing far beyond his little toddler age is expected to do, to barking and shouting and like doing what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And she was like, well, I did research and I found out that there's heavy metal in it. And that's not the only thing that they have in there, and like, how do I do a cleanse? I also have one of my best friends of all time. I've had her for the longest, probably, is that her daughter, same thing. This daughter was This little girl was exceptional. And then, in fact, her doctors did tell her she was one of the few provable vaccine injury children. This was back in, I don't know, 2005 or 2006, probably. This is quite some time ago. We've been watching this happen for a while, and we've been watching every year the number of people with autism, but profound, effect that are profoundly affected by autism, increasing exponentially.
I know, it's just crazy, the number.
Yeah.
And that's thank God, literally, like, for this awakening, because we are waking up out of the programming. We see this stuff for what it is. And now is our time to make our conscious decisions. We still have a choice. Do we want to keep doing it? Or do we see it for what it is now? We see what's behind it. It's not love behind all of this.
Right.
And do we choose now a better, well, I don't want to say better, but a different way? Each is a choice. Which are you going to choose? Now we have more information to go on. We were blinded and hidden. The information was hidden. And we're beautiful souls. I just want to bring it up. Everybody should be giving tremendous self-love, self-forgiveness, everything that supports you, especially if you don't have anyone around who's doing it. You can. So there's no excuse. Nobody loves me. I'm so alone. Okay, that might be to the physical eyes happening, but you count. Are you not giving yourself self-love and lifting yourself up? It starts with you. Do it. Don't always count on somebody else. It would be nice. But if you can't, okay, you stand in your own power. Love yourself until the next thing comes on your physical eyes around you. And if it doesn't, well, you know what? Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. That's all we're here to do. We're here as a collection to experience stuff. Like, I always go back to kindergarten in the sandbox. You want to be the kid playing the sandbox, play in the sandbox. You want to go pour water over everything. You want to paint on the walls and get in trouble. You want to just go explore. You're that kid that's just looking at ants all day outside while everyone else is doing something. Do it. We come here to experience every single facet of life that is here on this planet. And in a way, I'm kind of shocked about this whole ascension thing. Again, for me, starting core of it, 2010. At first, I'm like, hey, this is a great spiritual ride. Don't know what's coming. That's all cool. In a way, scary, terrifying of the uncertain, but also kind of cool because it's not the predictable you're going to 9 to 5 and dying part. So they brainwash you into that. So, hey, we're off-roading it. It's great. But then it gets rocky. It gets like, oh, wait, it's great. But free fall, where am I going to fall to? I'm believing there's an invisible net. But is there, and we go through all these things, right? But, but on the other hand, okay, great. We are free to explore. There is the unknown. But it also means there's a blank page to write the new story, right? We can toss out the old scripts. Keep them if we want, use the good out of it. But again, don't self-blame. We're operating and everything that we've been kind of taught to follow. Now, of course, when we're that little kid coming on the planet, we already had so much wisdom that was programmed out of us. But now we're just returning to that childhood state where we're like, oh yeah, I remember when I was little. Yeah. That's why I was the one that wasn't jiving with the rest of the family. Oh, that's why, I was healing people, without realizing it, and then the beauty of it is on this journey, we'll have people coming into our lives coming up who say, I had 2 people tell me this a few years ago. Hey, when we were all 14, you really were like an anchor for me in a good way, like, grounding. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, here I had a divorcing parents, all hell breaking through in my life. But I guess, people like us are on this journey. We're given the challenging families because we're coming to kind of balance them without realizing it. And then, grow. And only like now after our Great Awakening, we're like, okay, I'm starting to get this. Still may not feel great. Where am I living tomorrow kind of thing. But it is all about what somebody told me at my very first guide as I was Great Awakening said. A lot of people, you're walking on a staircase. And many people will see many steps ahead and they'll follow that staircase. You get to see one step ahead. And they're like, no. You're on the stair, like the rock as it's coming up out of the ocean. You don't get to see the next rock even to go to. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. Little did I know. Those are the moments we have. But we're learning the true meaning of faith and in believing in something, not just like one thing, the something that's all of us. Like I often say, like, you're the me, Mila, that's at your level of connecting and doing what you do. I'm the you that's over here doing this. you know, and again, I'll just look in the thing, Joyce, vegan vixen, you're all going through different things. Oh, I'm the vegan vixen that just had to move again, or going through this and this. And we are all of these facets. And when we really connect, like right now, if we just close our eyes and just do like you say, Mila, just feel that feeling of love. I'm about to cry. I feel it. Feel the love. Just a moment. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is all about the love. It is all about getting back into the moments. And I very much resonate with that. The way you describe the waves and the stones to step on. That's, I don't see it with water, but that's the same exact symbolism that has been shown to me by spirit. It's about, originally it was a rolling carpet, and you wanted to stand on the carpet every time you took a step, but the carpet roll was right at your toes. As it was rolling out, so were you taking a step. And it's all about trusting that the carpet, or there will be a stair or a stone to stand upon once your other foot finishes swinging over to it. And once you can, it sounds silly. It sounds even slight in its form. However, once we are able to master that, that's going with the flow and releasing control in the way that we have been using control, giving you more control. And when we do that, it makes everything work for you. It's that letting go and going with the flow that is often difficult to figure out how to do. You know, it's because we are like, but we want reassurance. We want to know proof that there's going to be something to put my foot on, you know, and it's just about stepping out and knowing the universe is going to catch you.
And I want to pop on that if I can.
Yeah.
What you're saying is exactly, it's a great visual with that carpet roll. And I was already seeing, like, when you're like, oh, there'll be a next step as it rolls. And I was even seeing it as the carpet roll is going off the cliff, and then you just reach up and there are two talons of a huge, you know, bird, and then they carry you, right?
You're right.
And then you said the word for, and I want to just say, out of all of my years of going through this ongoing awakening, for me, there's just the one phrase, and it's my go-to, and it's a common one. People, I don't know who first, you know, generated it, but man, this is so important and so works for the last 10 years, at least ongoing, is even when things seem to be at their worst, seeming, I say, because we also always know, like, the worst things are usually our catalyst and our gifts to put us somewhere else, changed for the better, right? But in the moment that something seeming adverse is happening, say it in your head or out loud. It's happening for me, not to me. Yeah. And I've used this every single time. Flat tire in the middle of this crazy intersection, a huge highway. I'm like, oh, shh. And I'm like, nope, it's happening for me, not to me, after like cursing. You can even curse it out a bit and go, what in the, and then go, no, very calmly, it's happening for me, not to me. Every time I've done that, all of a sudden, not one tow truck, but two come both sides of me saying, do you need help, at the same time? Right. Like wild stuff, like somebody who wasn't there a second ago, I swear, manifested out of thin air and said, here, you know, I have the thing that you need, you know, like this stuff does happen. And that's what you're saying when you're trusting that next thing is there, whether it's, you know, a step or, you know, we catch the huge bird going overhead, whatever it is, something else will be there because it must, because you just believe that absolute. And whether it's believing because you've just gone through enough of this by now, or you're really just kind of like in that Hail Mary, yeah, something's got to be there because I don't know what else to do anymore. It's not coming from in here anymore. I can't think it anymore. So something, you know, that complete surrender. And yes, it's going to be there every time, but it's happening for me, not to me. Every single time works. And if you can add in all is well, then it is. I've had people run across the street like, here, can we help you with like a battery jumper charger? Like, where'd they come from? You know, it's kind of like you look around, there it is, you need it, because you've just said, this is my commitment, my words, my thoughts, I'm saying it. Action can just be remembering to think aright, like into the positive side and not going down. Action is just going, it's happening for me, not to me. And now I've noticed a lot of people I talk to, they're starting to do it too. And they're like, I do it all the time now. And oh my gosh, because it is that powerful, right?
And you can enjoy those moments instead of being in stress and wearing yourself thin and lowering your vibration further. Like I've also got to be those people that show up.
Oh, yeah.
I've got to be the person who listened to my inner guidance. And for reasons unknown to me, I was carrying around bags of clothes that were well over my size, that then running into somebody who recently just had their house burned down and all of their belongings, and wow, all those clothes were their size, instead of dropping them off at the donation center like was planned. All kinds of things like this, just seemingly random and insignificant, though when you listen to that guidance, there's amazing flow that can happen. And just like you said, you're painting the experience you're in, and you get to decide if it's going to be a good one or a bad one. We don't always know that. We don't always realize that's what we're doing. We can choose for the moment to be positive or negative. And we do that all the time. And I watch it happen. Like and you can do the experiment on yourself in a moment of something that seems stressful. Stop and not just say to yourself, but realize aloud that this is assisting you, that the universe is working for you right now, that we're going into a path that I wasn't going to let myself go down. And here we go. This is something really exciting. And always it changes. In fact, I'm going to say this last thing. I'm going to give it back to you because we got 7 minutes before we got to go. So you probably want to say more, but I'm going to add this one little thing, is that I've changed something about myself over a handful of years ago. I can't remember how long ago it's been now, but it was a guidance or a suggestion that was channeled through to me from Archangel Michael. It was one of the most random ones, because it felt like a burp, the way that the words just came out to tell me to do it. It was like, anyway, but that is, before I go to bed, I get excited because something exciting is happening tomorrow. I don't know what it is. I just know it's true. And I go to bed that way. And when I wake up, I'm excited because something exciting is going to happen today. And that's all I changed. Okay. Once I started to change that, I went from being on welfare in, Section 8 sanctioned low budget apartment complex, just having no resources, no anything, and always having things not working out for what we needed or whatever. And then all of a sudden it changed overnight, and it's consistently done so. It makes my tomorrows feel better and my tonights feel even more amazing because I know something is going to happen, and it always does, because that is what I'm telling the universe I am choosing to have today. So if you do nothing else, that's it. That's what
I'm going to do that one. The other thing I'm finding too is to be cool with it, whatever's going to happen. So we really want this outcome, and I've gotten to, I still really want that. Hey, I got my vote. We have preferences, so I still say, I really want that. But it's then also getting to the place where, okay, Varley, you got to be okay with it if it doesn't come through. Are you okay with it if it doesn't come through? Okay, all right, yeah, like being okay either way. But then going back to still, but that's what I'd like, please. But the moment I let go of the energy of, if I don't get it, oh my God, what's going to happen? We get down into that thing like, okay, then surprise me, right? Maybe it'll be a better thing. Like you're saying, let's be excited about it. But definitely when I can get into that place of, especially because we're here to make choices and things. So it gets very confusing, right? Like we're saying we want to go from something, but we're also knowing that, okay, but if you go too far, maybe that's not the bigger picture thing for you. So it gets a little trippy. Yeah. But I think the answer is too, the more we can just get balanced. And I love your thing too. I'm going to start practicing that, trying that at night, and just be excited. Like, hey, it's another day. And I noticed one other thing too, and I'll stop with this because of the time, but it hit me too. Like when we look at ourselves, we're so entrenched in ourselves because we're in ourselves. But I like the idea of looking at your situation either as an omniscient observer, or like if you're writing the story, oh, there's Varley, she's on the street, here the man comes, and whatever. And then you can start to kind of laugh at your whole life story, even the darkest moments.
Yeah.
Wow, she got out of that one. Like just I never like, people referring to yourself like in the third person, but this really works because you're like, wow, and she got out of that. And look at when you do life review, look at like, how'd she get out of that one? Like, like they say in the movies, I don't know how we're gonna get out of this one, and yet things are shown and you do. And you're like, wow, she got through that like more elegantly than I thought. It looked pretty ugly being in it, but like looking from the outside in, this story unfolds differently. And for the future too, it's like, oh, I wonder how she's going to do that. Well, she doesn't need to know. Like, yeah, surprise me, make it good. Like you're saying, wake up for something exciting, but also be like, okay, did it not happen? Maybe it was exciting that I just got to study that ant, and damn, ants can carry, I just looked this up. I don't know why before the show. I'm working it in. I didn't plan on it. Ants can carry supposedly 10 to 50 times their weight, their own weight. And you can be like, dang, look at that ant. That could have been the magic of the day, the excitement, right? So anyway.
Answer. And if Elsa's still listening, I saw her on here earlier, and that's going to be her code.
Oh, and
I can just hear her now. No. And her kids show up with water bottles to spray her because if you
that's right.
Many times. Yeah, there's so much that I'm going to add one more thing is that this same concept, if we understand using the dream dictionaries for your reality might sound very strange. It might sound like, well, how would that work? How is that going to help? In these dream dictionaries, they help you understand a level of knowledge that's being brought to you by the symbols. And these same symbols are coming to you in your waking moments. And so if you realize that this correlation, you can actually decode your everyday moments. You can decode your life. And it doesn't have to be like this obsessive, you have to figure out the code, whether or not you can decide in order to decide what's going to be for dinner tonight or something. But it makes it easier to fully comprehend what's being presented to us in these moments that we're in. It really is a grand illusion in many ways. And so, as we unpack the illusion of it, there's more and more information and knowledge within it, and it can be fun and interesting as well as useful. So I do need to wrap it up. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I do my commercial at the end?
No, just thanks for having me on. And just again, like as always, I just wish everybody, everywhere I go, anywhere I go, just a tremendous peace and love for whatever people are. I like the little phrase, whatever you're going through or growing through, or just, just being here, whether it's live or on the replay. It's just a thank you for hosting things like this for us to come together in all kinds of ways. You do magical, great things, as do, I know, everybody in the audience, based on seeing what everybody's dealing with.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Universe shows the magic. I like that.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on. This hour went by so fast. It went by so fast. It's crazy. We'll definitely be having you on again some other time as the schedule opens. And I really appreciate you taking the time to present yourself. For those who don't know, and we've had a couple of conversations in the past. You can go back and find the videos here on this YouTube channel, as well as if you're watching from Facebook. I don't know how to go back and look. I think they just changed that. You can't look back on so far. Anyhow, Varleigh here also has a YouTube channel, which is in the description of this video. She produces amazing content. It's always really fun to connect. You never know what kind of stuff she's going to bring forward. Sometimes she's talking about spacecraft. Sometimes she's talking about crystals, or whatever. There's all kinds of different topics to address. So I encourage you to reach out to and subscribe to her channel. She really could use the support, and it's worth the support given. And then I got to do my commercial. We're also going to have a couple of awesome shows coming up in the next little while. I will be on here on Sunday like normal for Mother's Day, on Mother's Day. And then the next Wednesday, I'm going to have Justin on. I'm really excited to have him on. He's not come on the show before. And then next Friday is Guardian and Yolanda together. So it's going to be a really cool full week. I look forward to This awesome energy we're getting right now is supposed to get a little bit more awesome before that balances itself back out. So if you missed the beginning part of this video, I strongly encourage, oh, it says UV high right now. Usually that comes on my computer when we're getting a solar flare impact. I encourage you to go back to the beginning of the video. And that's what I was going to say.
Wait, hold on. Let me get ready.
Yeah. There's some really good tips and tricks earlier in the video discussing connecting with the crystals and the wood and different elemental stuff. Like I also have been known to have a small potted plant next to my bed. Beautiful.
Yeah, that one was really pretty.
And, having salt in a vessel near you really helps to ionize the air. I found that really useful. We've used to fill the bathtub halfway and throw some salt in there. So
as they said too, beeswax candles, they burn differently. Look it up. It's just I'm dropping a go. They burn differently than a regular candle. The smoke, I think, comes out white instead of a different color, and it ionizes somehow.
Cool. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sending you all love, knowing you're not alone, and it's going to be okay. Just take that's a salt bath if you can, ground. Sending you all love. Aho blessings.
Thank you.